Today, we're diving into something really fascinating, the Islamic theory of rights. And look, this is way more than just a simple list of what you're entitled to. Think of it more like a complete blueprint for a just and fair society. It's all built on one really powerful idea, that every single right you have is perfectly balanced by a responsibility you hold. Let's see how it all works. I mean, just think about that for a second. What if for every claim you could make, there was a duty you had to fulfill? It's a pretty profound concept, right? And it is the absolute foundation of the framework we're exploring today. The whole point is to create a kind of natural harmony in all our interactions, from our most private actions to the biggest financial deals. So this entire system really stands on two core pillars. On one side, you have Huquq. These are your rights, your claims, your entitlements. And then, perfectly balancing them, you have dayn. These are the obligations, the duties you have to others. And in Islamic legal thought, the Sharīʿah, you simply cannot have one without the other. They're two sides of the same coin. One person's right is always someone else's responsibility. Okay, so how does this system actually define a right? I mean, what are its moving parts? Well, according to the jurists who developed this, every single right is built on three essential components. And once you get these three pillars, the whole framework just clicks into place. So, here they are, the three pillars. First, you've got the owner of the right. This is the person, or maybe even an entity, that holds that right. Second, there's the subject of the right. This is the actual thing the right is about. You know, like a piece of property or a sum of money. And finally, number three, you have the liable person. That's the one who has the duty, the obligation, to make sure that right is fulfilled. Let's make this super clear with a simple loan. The person who gave the money, the creditor, is the owner of the right to be paid back. The money owed, the debt itself, is the subject, and the person who has to pay it back, the debtor, is the liable person. See? Owner, subject, liable person. Every single right you can think of fits into this clean, logical structure. Now here's where it gets really interesting, how these rights are categorized. The most fundamental split in the entire system is between rights that serve the public good and rights that protect purely private interests. Let's dig into this divide. On one side, you have what are called the rights of God, or Huquq. Now, don't get hung up on the name. This isn't just about worship. This term refers to rights that benefit the whole community, the public welfare. Think of it as the foundation of social order, things that are enforced by the state for the common good. And then, on the other side, you have the rights of humans, or Huquq. These are all about protecting private individual interests, things like property, contracts, personal debts. And because they're personal, an individual can actually choose to waive them, like forgiving a debt somebody owes you. All right, so beyond that huge public versus private divide, the system gets even more specific. It drills down to cover pretty much every aspect of daily life you can imagine, from family matters all the way to modern business. So rights get classified in other practical ways too. For instance, you have financial rights, which cover all the things you'd expect, like property and debt, but also modern concepts like copyrights. These are usually heritable, meaning you can pass them on to your heirs. But in contrast, you have non-financial rights, like rights within a family. Something very personal, like legal guardianship over a child, for example, is non-heritable. It's a right that ends when that person passes away. Now, this next point is absolutely crucial. Just because you have a right, it doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. It doesn't give you a license to cause harm. The whole system has a built-in ethical boundary to stop people from misusing their rights. And it all boils down to this one elegant guiding principle. No harm, nor reciprocal harm. It's so important. What it means is that you can't exercise your rights in a way that damages someone else. And, just as importantly, you can't retaliate with harm either. It's really the ultimate check and balance, making sure that individual freedom never ever comes at the cost of the community's well-being. So what does this misuse actually look like in real life? Well, think about someone hoarding essential goods during a famine to artificially drive up prices. That's a misuse of their right to trade. Or building a wall on your property so high that it completely blocks all sunlight from your neighbor's garden. Or even a surgeon who has the right to practice medicine, but does so with gross negligence. In every case, someone is using a right they have, but in a way that causes harm. And that is forbidden. Okay, that was a lot of information, I know. You think you've got a handle on it? Let's put that knowledge to the test with 3 quick questions. Ready? First question, think about zakat. That's the mandatory annual charity in Islam that's meant to help the poor and benefit the whole community. What type of right is that, primarily? Is it A, a right of humans, B, a combined right, C, a financial right, or D, a right of God? Really think about its public purpose. Question 2. Which of these actions is a textbook example of misusing a right under that no harm principle we just talked about? Is it A, selling your car, B, renting out an apartment, C, building a really tall fence that blocks your neighbor's sunlight, or D, forgiving a debt someone owes you? And for our final question, the right of a parent to have guardianship over their children. How would you classify that one? Is it A, financial and heritable, B, non-financial and non-heritable, C, financial and non-heritable, or D, non-financial and heritable? All right, pencils down. What did you get? Go ahead and lock in your answers, something like 1D, 2C, 3B, and drop them for us in the comments below. We would love to see how everyone did. And as we wrap up, here's a final thought to chew on. We live in this crazy digital age of big data, artificial intelligence, and new forms of property. So how can a system like this, one that is obsessed with balancing individual rights with public good and personal claims with social responsibilities, how can that help us navigate the incredibly complex ethical challenges of our modern world? It's a really compelling question to think about. Thanks so much for joining us.